Hello, I'm Melzebub, and welcome to the after party. So, those of you who were watching live, the live stream will be taken down because I kind of want to edit out a few things. There's a break where things got a little excessive for Triatail, and I had to pee, which is a thing. But here's the after party. I will say that there were things I promised to talk about in this after party, but I don't remember because short-term memory doesn't exist for me in the best of circumstances.
Memory, what's that shit?
What?
What's that shit?
What?
Memory?
I don't remember what memory.
Cerberus, you stop. Okay, so for those of you who remember, I bought the soundproofing padding a while ago. The little puppy that I have shown on Twitter already, and we'll show right there. It's cute.
They make them cute.
Fucking eating it. So you're gonna deal with some weird reverb because that little 1 month old fuck. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Cerberus.
See, the problem was you named him Cerberus.
Actually, we get to blame that on Purple Rhymes with Orange. If not for them, I would not have thought of it. So blame Purple, everybody.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Whenever I can bounce the blame onto someone else, I'm going to do it. And this little butthole's name absolutely goes to Perp. So, yeah, we just did a, by we, I mean Triatail and myself just did a live stream on, asexuality and whether they can be fixed like a puppy who will be fixed within a couple of weeks. Cerberus. That way he's not peeing on everything. So, yeah. Oh, let me click the button so we see who else is in here. Godless Sewing and Tree.
Yeah, no.
It's not just me.
No, we should yell and have everybody try to figure out who's talking when.
That would be funny. Actually.
I have Adventure Time on a laptop over here, and every once in a while I look over, and the Los Angeles Kings finally got a win over the Anaheim Ducks, and it was a good game. So that's the sports report for the evening. Thank you.
Sports.
Yeah, and you've got me who grew up with the Mighty Ducks movies saying fuck you other team.
See, like what happened is actually something really bad is actually happening in LA. Disney is gonna own everything.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And imagine, were you ever into wrestling back in the day? Either one of you?
A little bit. I enjoyed it a little bit.
So when Vince McMahon bought out WCW, he completely gutted the company and got rid of kept all the stars and fired everybody he didn't like. And I'm not comparing this to it, but Disney has basically bought out the rights to all sports in LA except for the Dodgers because they have their own channel.
Oh no!
So now,
I don't like sport ball, but I hate Disney owning everything.
See, that's the problem. They're becoming what McDonald's is. They own more land than anything else. And so what's happening is they're buying everything. And they now in Los Angeles it used to be Fox Sports West and now it's Bally Sports. But who owns them? Disney. So
Well, who owns Fox?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so all they really did was change the names of the subsidiaries. So now Disney is going to own the Los Angeles Kings, and I think that's a conflict of interest. But they don't own them yet, but they will eventually.
Well, okay. So let's look at it this way. For years, I've had a problem with ESPN and college football.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I'm an Ohio State boy, and ESPN invests in the Southeastern Conference. And who do Buckeye boys hate? The SEC.
I actually know somebody that has my exact same name that's a professor at the Ohio State University.
I love that you said it that way. The Ohio State University. One of two universities in the nation that has that particular title. Who else can say who has the applied to the front of it?
Definitely not too many universities. Definitely.
No, there are only two universities in the country.
Who's the other one?
There's the Ohio State University,
Mm-hmm.
and there's the University of Notre Dame.
Really? Wow.
That's the only other.
When I was a kid, I was told to root for Notre Dame, and I got a new jersey every year just because they were the most Catholic.
You see, it's funny because it wasn't until my teenage years that I started rooting for Notre Dame.
Also,
I mean, I still like Notre Dame. Like, I hate the Catholic Church at this point, but I love Notre Dame because they are the most storied team in college football / athletics. They are the team that taught every team that fucking matters how to play football.
yeah.
You know,
They are the Green Bay Packers of college sports.
Mm-hmm.
They're more like when you say wholesome, I mean like they're like a America's team, so to speak.
Yeah,
but
they're underrated. I mean, who the fuck else has had a movie made about them? I mean, fucking Rudy. I'll say it all fucking day.
I still quote that movie. You're 5-0, 100-0. That's a great movie. Absolutely great movie.
Yeah. No, Rudy's a great movie. Anyone that disagrees is just objectively wrong.
The one thing I love about sports ball in general is I still have all my old jerseys. Let
me go get
you
my.
You say that you fucking say that as if it's an announcement, Will, and everybody is like, "Come on, you hoard everything. Of course you do."
I know I'm a real life hoarder. I'm actually working on a video. I went to my storage unit and I opened it up and I was actually embarrassed because I have two of them and this one has less stuff in it than the other.
Oh jeez.
I opened the door, Tria, and stuff was falling out. It actually was great for video. I filmed that 2 weeks ago and haven't released it yet because I'm embarrassed for myself. Because I am. Yeah. But there's a difference. Like, I helped a neighbor who was hoarding trash, and we were surprised her cat was still alive.
Yeah, because like my mom was a hoarder and it was unhealthy the way she would hoard, but we never like lived in trash or dirt or anything.
Heck yeah.
But the thing was that there wasn't room for any of us, and I think that's where the unhealthiness came in.
That's why I got storage units, and basically I turned this room into a hoarding room, and my son has the rest of the entire house. So he can do whatever he wants in the house.
Yeah, and see, and I can understand that a little bit better. But I'm like doing stuff like I was cleaning my room the other day and I found stuff from my mom that I hadn't yet sorted through because my mom had stuff in every room of our house. and there was like no room for any of my sisters or my stuff.
See, I don't want to. When I helped my neighbor, it honestly helped me out a lot too, because I wasn't as bad as she is, but I saw where it could go. And
Yeah.
what happened was like my father and I used to go pick lockers. He was like, we had a great time. We bought a bunch of stuff. We used to sell to stores and all this stuff. And then he died January 1st of 2020, and I got all his stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm a hoarder. So literally overnight, I was overwhelmed. Like, I'm trying to give stuff away and people don't want it. That's how much stuff. And now I'm like, I'm keeping it all.
Yeah, when I went through and tried to like make the living room a space where like we could sit and do stuff as a family, I got rid of 30 trash bags from one corner of just stuff that like I could have theoretically given away, but I was like trying to get done, and I just like started shoving things in trash bags.
That's like my neighbor, she was so bad. They got a dumpster for her. She had a full 40-yard dumpster with open doors and everything for all the crap in her house. She had over $800 in bottles and cans in recycling. I want you guys to really think she just was basically throwing bags out on the side of her house, you know, for years and years. It took like, I think 9 trips, to the point the recycling person was like, don't come back here. You guys are robbing us today. Don't come back here.
Yeah.
So that really checked me. And honestly, I'm kind of a clean freak, you know, so I need space.
Oh.
But yeah, I am a real life hoarder.
See, what I think is funny, because what I've gathered from you so far, Will, is that you have more American flags than I do. My caveat is, do your numerous American flags have as much meaning as my one?
Well, actually, I have like 4 casket flags that mean something to me. And 2 are family members that recently passed. One is my dad, and one was a friend of my dad's who had no family. So they basically, like, my dad took responsibility for this human being, like, made sure that their body got home and everything. And when he got there, no one was there to claim the body, so he made sure the body was buried and everything. So I still have his flag as well.
Okay, what I have is my grandpa's flag that the Navy gave to my grandmother on the occasion, I guess would be the word, of my grandfather's death. My grandfather who served in World War II.
My grandfather served in World War II. I basically, in my family, we fought every war from the Revolutionary War on with people with my last name. And then that's why I talk a lot. The only reason I know this is because of the man that is professor at the Ohio State University. We did all these elaborate blood tests and all this crazy stuff. And if it wasn't for him and his funding, I wouldn't know as much as I do, you know. But we did this elaborate DNA thing, and it's interesting to know my family history. I was way more American than I thought I was. It's just I was way.
So, like, what I was given to understand from childhood, like prior to any kind of DNA testing my family took, what I was given to understand is that about 3/4 of my family is German, by which I mean to say that my Me, I personally am third generation German,
My
which should tell you that I have family who were German just before the Nazis came into power.
my neighbor who I grew up with my whole life, he was a Hitler Youth. He actually passed like 10 years ago, but he wasn't in the Hitler Youth. He met his wife on the boat coming to America, and they stayed together until the day they both passed.
Damn.
I respect they both walked into this country with nothing, and he had a construction company that was worth millions of dollars, when he died. So he made something of himself. He helped 3 people I know become American citizens. Because he was big about that, because he became an American citizen. So like he was big about helping people become citizens because he was an immigrant himself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it's funny because we have this weird non-violent trend kind of thing going in the liberal side of America. It's like, oh no, violence is never a good thing, and I'm over here like, I literally have Nazi killing blood in my veins.
On my Twitter, if you look at the picture, I that was one of the first patches I made when I got bored, but it's kill Nazis like your grandfather did.
No, literally, like
no, because I was so shocked that people were talking about Nazis. I'm like yelling at my computer 3 years ago. I'm like, didn't we fight a war? How are these guys still around? I was like yelling at my television, like, wait a minute. The second
no. So here's the funny thing. Like, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Sum of All Fears.
Yes.
Ben Affleck was
yes.
There's one part of that movie where this Nazi cunt is like, oh well, the followers of Stalin, they've all fucking died. But the followers of Hitler, they abound and thrive. Yeah. Guess who my lineage killed? And guess who's more than happy to keep that shit going?
See, that's another thing that, because a lot of these people who are wearing this Nazi stuff, if it wasn't for their grandfathers, we'd all be speaking, and mine too, my grandfather as well, we'd all be speaking German, I don't know. It's funny that we bring this up because on Tuesday, I don't even know anymore because I'm online so much. Tuesday I was on Godless Granny's stream, and there was a young man who flat out just forgot history and was saying some Fox News talking points. And it really made me think, how many generations are we removed where we start forgetting the reason why we're sitting here? The reason why. That's sad.
I will give you the answer right now because I can. 2.
That's so sad. And I think because I come from an older family, like I had a connection to the old world. And even though a lot of them have passed and moved, or are like in their 90s, but like it's strange to me that people forget about World War II, World War I, who sunk the Lusitania. Like it's just weird to me that people forget about these things, To me, it's living history. History never stopped. We're living it right now. I'm stealing this from Star Trek, but life isn't moments. It's continuous. Life never stops,
Yeah. So, like Christy, I absolutely love Christy. She's a fantastic human being. Like the only reason I bring my lineage up is because at least in the most modern history, which is the last 80 to 100 years, my family has history of ending up on the right side of history. It's not patriotism to me because fuck patriotism. I mean,
see, that's why I put all the flags up too, because my reason for putting all my flags up was to remind people that people like me still live here, because when I came online, I had never seen people so polarized, because in my everyday life it doesn't happen. People do not no one cares about my sexuality. Most people don't even care about my race. Most people are
I
more,
don't know what the answer to either of those.
like, I just live my everyday life and mind my own business. But ever since I got online, like, I had a whole set up in the corner where I would put my laptop and sit up against the flags. It offended everybody. So as a social,
Well, yeah. Well, and it's odd for me to hear that, because down here where I'm at, things are definitely fucking polarized. Like, I have tried to, like, meet in the middle to a degree and, like, not make things worse. But at this point, my attitude towards everything is like, I'm moving for the better, and fuck you. You're either coming with me or you can sit in the corner and cry. I don't give a damn anymore.
see, that's
I mean,
my
currently
thing.
Ron DeSantis is your governor. You, no matter where you go, you can do better.
Yeah, well, no, there's a couple of people worse than DeSantis, but not by much. But yeah, and also I live in Jacksonville, and we are, like, when I say we're damn near about 50-50 Dem and Republican, we're about 50-50. There's a reason why so many presidential candidates run through Jacksonville to campaign.
Yeah, they sure do.
So,
They
so
sure do.
godless soul, we got a question for you up on screen.
It's gonna be okay. All right, everybody, let's get in my spaceship, and I'll tell you what race I am. I am half black. My father was from Georgia, and he was a man from Georgia. And my mom is Mexican, but Kitty the Atheist is darker than my mom. My mom is such a Spaniard, like, she's pale. She's a white person who speaks Spanish, which in Southern California isn't rare because most people do. But I say Mexican because most people in my family don't claim Mexican because they can pass as white, and it's almost offensive because both of my grandparents were born in Mexico. But because they're white, they don't say that they are.
Yeah, if anybody in my family does a DNA test that's too closely related to me, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna wreck the test for them.
Yes, Maya. My mom is a vampire, and she's the only Mexican person I know who's allergic to spicy things. I clown her all the time. Oh, do you see your face? We'll sit at restaurants and she'll be having a conversation in Spanish, and I'll look at her and wait for her to tell the people, don't put any spice in it, just to see their reaction,
See, okay, here's what I don't get. I mean, so Will, you had this beautiful opportunity to you started out half, and part of me was like, I was hoping you would go half man, half bear, half pig. I was hoping you'd do it. I was hoping you'd get it there, pig.
I'm half man, half miracle is what I am.
you blew my expectations in the worst way.
Trust me, it's never as good in person. Always read the book, watch the movie. It's never Hollywood is nothing but lights, glitz, and camera tricks. And yes, Maya, I know all the cool people. So Galasoa knows everyone. I only roll in certain crowds because certain people annoy the hell out of me.
So we were talking earlier about siblings fighting, and I'm just thinking about all the different communities I'm in, and I'm like running away screaming from quite a few of them at this point.
I had this moment a week ago where I was like, man, a year ago I was watching this sewing, hanging out in this same room, minding my own business, just so happy in my ignorance. I'm like, next week I might take a week off just to go back to being in my ignorance before I got involved in all these communities. No, it's true. It's hilarious.
I am laughing because I joined in the atheist community, and we're not going to go deep into details because I already had a tough subject tonight. But there was a major fracturing of it a month after I joined the atheist community,
But
and I was just like, God damn it, fuckery. And meanwhile, everything in the ex-Mormon community is like burning to the ground.
you know,
Like,
and
God
that's
damn it.
another thing. I kind of knew that this was going to happen because of COVID, because we're all stuck in our house. So you get annoyed with people, you start hanging out with someone every day, and you're like, you know what? I really don't like you, you know. But that happens in life, you know. So
Yeah.
I try to just take it for what it is. But like, I've been clashing lately with people, and if you don't like me on site for who I am, there's nothing I can do about that. You know, get to
Yeah.
know me.
And
Then you won't like me.
I've pretty much gotten to a point where I'm just like, maybe if I pretend, maybe I can get out without people asking me to take sides. Because honestly, I got enough fight. I don't need to be getting in the middle of y'all.
That's
Because
another
I'm not
thing.
kidding when I say the ex-Mormon community is, oh, I love my ex-Mormon friends. I love my community, but holy hell, we are so fucked in the head.
You know,
Well,
it's so funny you would say that, because this entire journey started off like just smoking weed, having a great time, and talking trash about theists. And now it's like infighting, plots, counter plots.
oh,
This
dude,
person
no.
blocks this person, you know.
So no, okay. So I remember I came in to the atheist community on YouTube like just before all the fucking drama and bullshit started, where it was just like, oh well, you know. But fuck the pre-sup dumb shit people who aren't gonna listen to you anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason, the atheist community seems to have let those people in.
Exactly. And you know, you have brought up a whole other point that makes me just scream sometimes. You know, one of the greatest days of my one of the greatest things I ever realized is that I didn't have to pray every day anymore. I didn't have to read the Bible anymore. I didn't have to do a lot of things. So when I got in the atheist community, I'm like, why are we still reading the Bible? Why? And
Okay.
I understand we need ammo, but like, yikes.
Well, I'm a terrible atheist. I'm like, fuck you, pay me to read the Bible.
Exactly. I'm almost there, Tria. I
Okay,
am.
and the thing is
Oh,
that I read the Bible to a degree, but it was like kind of almost on like other denominations, like what they teach the little kids in Sunday school level. Like,
I
I
know.
don't have an in-depth on the Bible, and I'm just like, I will not read that shit unless you pay me. I have my own shit that I have to sort through.
here's the funny thing with me, like I start like as a theist, like a Catholic fucking theist. I started reading the Bible from Genesis on. I got to Deuteronomy and I'm like, fuck this shit.
Did you read
Deuteronomy, I did not make it far.
Did you
Also,
read
on
the
top of
Catholic?
that, as an ex-Mormon, pay me to read the Book of Mormon. If you want to hear my takes on Book of Mormon, fucking pay me. I will do
Okay.
the Pearl of Great Price, and I will do Doctrine and Covenants, but no. Everybody knows about the Book of Mormon. I ain't doing that shit. There's other podcasts for that.
The only reason I read the Book of Mormon is because I had a good friend who was from Ghana. I've told you, Tria, that he became a Mormon, and I read the book and I was like, they hate black people. Look at this passage. Look at this. And he still went on to become I don't even know what you would call an honorary Mormon.
So here's a funny story for you, okay? So right now, I'm living in the same apartment complex I lived in 3-4-ish years ago. And if you know, in the time I lived here, there was a point where I was babysitting my nephew. I just made dinner, and I was like, you know, that occasion where you sit your ass down into your chair, and I mean your chair,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to pick your ass up immediately back out of that chair because some fucktard knocked on the door.
Uh,
Oh.
I had that with 2 Mormon missionary little boys.
That's the thing is that, and it changes from time to time, but they often tell you to hit people at dinner time, and I have no clue why. I guess it's mostly because
I don't
people are
get
more
it either.
likely to be home. I guess it's
Like,
because people are more likely to be home, but I'm like, dude, they just want to sit and eat.
yeah.
People who are hungry are at their angriest.
I
Why
was
in
about
the
to say,
hell?
like,
I was mean to these 2 little kids. Like, oh no, we're 18, 19 years old. We're little kids who don't know fuck about fuck.
first time out of the house.
Yeah, so like I had just made dinner for myself and my nephew. My ass hits the chair and boom, knock, knock, knock at the door. My ass
Yeah.
immediately has to get up. That
I
would kill
I
anybody's move.
I honestly don't know how I would handle missionaries anymore because they technically aren't allowed to knock on the door.
So
Um,
here, they do in California, and uh, first off, Maya, I do see the reason for the Bible. I just am over inundated with it, and here, because I live in a Mormon neighborhood, they still do missions around here. I still get the kids from Utah. I jokingly told someone recently, "Oh, you can help me redo my roof," forgetting that they would. And they came back, and I was like, "No, you don't have to help me redo."
oh no, the
Because
reason
then
why they're
legally, I have to
technically
pay
not
it.
allowed is it's not entirely like quote unquote legal, but basically as part of me leaving the church, I wanted some extra protection because I live with my Mormon family still.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through Quit Mormon, and one of the advantages of Quit Mormon is that lawyer that runs it, he is a lawyer. He's got some serious beef with the Mormon church. No one knows what it is, but it's basically that entire site is if you want out and you want a fucking lawyer to say that he'll sue you if you don't do things the way you want, hi, I will do that shit for free.
Oh, wow.
And he means it. So
So
when I sent my resignation letter, part of the letter said, "Do not fucking contact my client, go through me." So Mormon missionaries don't knock on my door. Now, technically, phone calls still come through from time to time, but because I'm living with my Mormon family, they have permission to contact my dad and my sister. But the moment they ask for me or imply that I am involved in any way possible, it's like I have that letter that goes, "Hi, this is what I sent your church." And he means business. He will go to bat for you because he's that
That's
pissed off at the
awesome.
Mormon church.
yeah.
So what I did to combat more Jehovah's Witnesses, because the Mormons aren't scared. I because I have cameras usually on the weekends. I am like I'm smoking a really big joint before I move on with my day. I'm now at the point where I have someone who drives me to work on Saturday, so I'm smoking an even bigger joint once when I go. And the Jehovah's Witnesses don't come by my house anymore because I'll smoke on my porch, on my front porch. I'll smoke with my garage door open. And if you walk past my house or near my house, you will smell it.
The Jehovah Witnesses typically don't knock because my dad is generally home. And as much as I dislike my dad's beliefs, he runs them around in circles. And he does it in such a nice way that they're like looking at him like, how do I fucking escape? And he'll hold them hostage politely at the door for like 45 minutes. And they're like, "No, we just wanted to give you our little propaganda pamphlets. Like, go, please let us go." And they stopped coming to the door.
I think that's the problem of mine. I love collecting propaganda Like I have 6 or 7 books of Mormon. Because they're like, hey, can we get a donation? And I'm like, can I get a Book of Mormon? They're like, yeah. I'm like, here's $5. And they're like, do you want 2?
Well, so like here's my favorite story. So a few years ago, I'm living in the next building over from where I am now, but like I plant my ass in my chair. I'm happy. I have food in my lap. The TV's on. My nephew's there, which is annoying but negligible. And I suddenly just at my door. So I have to pick my ass up from its happy planted state. I go over and these two like 18, 19-year-old little boys, oh, we're wearing suits. We have ties.
And they look like little boys too. That's what the sad thing
Well,
is.
the thing is, they are. Speaking as an ex-Mormon, they stunt you so badly.
No, you're right. They literally are little boys.
They don't know what they're doing. A good portion of them don't actually want to be there, but feel like they have no choice.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why, unless I'm having a seriously bad day and they're like acting in a way that I know that they shouldn't, and I'm not talking about like the stupid rules like don't call your mom and shit like that. I'm talking about like just being major assholes. I tend to be nicer to them if I come across them because I'm just like, because I honestly pity them.
So you
and I
don't
don't think that everybody has to be nice or whatever, but it's just it's hard because I look at them and I know all of the steps that got them there, and I know how green they are and how young and how much the Mormon church did not prepare them for anything outside of church, and just feel bad.
Do you feel sorry for them because they're like door-to-door salesmen and the home office isn't honest with them?
I feel sad for them for multiple reasons. One of them is the door-to-door thing. One of them is it's socially it's death, social death essentially if you don't go on your mission. The Mormon church does everything humanly possible to like keep you kind of childlike. So
Oof.
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So, let me put it to you this way. Like then versus now, if me right now, if I were to get a knock at my door from Mormons, I'm in a pretty good mood right now. I'm not trying to sit down and eat. I mean, it might be a little weird that it's almost 1:30 in the morning and a Mormon's knocking at my door.
I was about to say, they are breaking rules if they do that. And those are probably the poor fucks that don't actually want to be on their mission.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm if you were to take a more general now and say it was, I don't know, 3 p.m. Let's say it's 3 in the afternoon, like right in that sweet spot. I would probably open the door, be like, oh, it's a couple of well-dressed dudes. What do you want? Because obviously they're going to be men, because that's how the Mormon church operates. And they'd be like, have you heard the good news? And I'm like, I've heard several versions of the good news. What do you got?
Yeah, for me, generally speaking, my attitude, because I know that someday I'm probably going to lose my no contact order. And when that happens, I will start getting missionaries again. But I pretty much feel like my attitude is going to be like, first off, fuck the Mormon church. I hate it. Here, I know they're not feeding you. Have some grocery cards and give them $50.
Yeah, no,
because they starve those poor kids.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
that's why I give them money when I see them, because I know what's going on. I have a neighbor who is active in the Mormon church. He's one of those funny Mormons, like he brews his own beer.
Yeah.
Mormons are allowed to drink?
Technically,
No.
that's actually technically speaking, if you go by what the original doctrine said, you can brew your own beer. In fact,
He's
you're not allowed to buy other people's beer and drink it,
but his
but you
kids
can brew
walk
your
past
own.
me like his kids drink soda.
Yeah,
But my whole point is there's been times where because I live on a cul-de-sac, so sometimes they'll go that way instead of coming this way, and I'll and like on my camera I'll look and I'm like, ooh, they're going to the wrong house. He tells them, I'm Mormon, F off. I feel
yeah.
bad because he's rude to these kids, but like I think he's resentful because he's had to go on a mission before. So I think he's like,
Yeah, a lot of those kids come back with traumas from missions. I don't know that all of them do, but a good portion do, especially depending on
well,
which mission you go to.
imagine like I don't know why anyone would come to Los Angeles because like when people come here, they're confronted with every religion that's ever walked the earth.
Well, and
You
the
know?
thing is that the missionaries don't get to choose which missions they go to unless they're the upper class. And they can, be like, yeah, I like this particular mission, but most people are just told where to go, which was one of the reasons why I decided that I was not going on one. Because one, I had the option, it was optional for me, and two, there was no way in hell I was letting some old fart who never even had interacted with me once before decide whether or not what mission I was going to go to. I was like, no, I get to choose where I'm going because
I told you about Elder when I met Elder Sanchez. I
oh
met I met a Hispanic Mormon, and my friend, we kind of cornered him, and we were like, "Blink if they're treating you wrong. Are you okay? What is wrong? Do you need mental help?" Like we really asked. He's like, "I'm Mormon. Get out of here." But it was so weird to see a Hispanic Mormon. But where else would you send someone who's a
yeah,
Hispanic Mormon?
like
It
to
was
be
so
like
weird.
it makes some sense if you were going to send somebody to a particular language speaking mission, usually Spanish. There are different ones, like French is also another big one. But if you're going to send somebody to a Spanish speaking mission, a lot of times, and they will send people who they either assumed can speak the language or because they look like they should or do speak the language. I know somebody who ended his mission early, and I won't say who it is, but he was sent to Cambodia simply because he's Cambodian, and they assumed that he could
Oh,
speak the language. And that poor kid just like struggled with the language, he struggled with the culture, and like it caused him so much pain. He came home early, and like fortunately his family was pretty like laid back and cool and was like, okay, like shit happens. But I remember socially, like he was considered a pariah because it was like you should have been able to just adjust, and you're Cambodian, so why was it so hard for you? And like I suspect he's still Mormon, but I suspect that that's only because he doesn't want to have a break with his family.
I'm
I
so glad the
He's
Utah
inactive.
Outcast put that disclaimer because I was about to say, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
Oh yeah, yeah. X is not Mormon, but he has to deal with the shenanigans in
I
Utah.
was just like, "Oh, I'm so no," and I always laugh because I didn't realize how Mormon my neighborhood was until as an adult I got on Facebook, and I had a good friend of mine ask me like, "Why are you friends with so many Mormons?" And I'm like, "I grew up with all those people." I had no, but they minded their own business, and so did I, and we all remained friends.
Yeah, there's slight differences in culture, um, depending on where you're at. Because people hear like what my experiences were in talking about in Florida, and they often assume that I'm from Utah. not just because people assume that, you know, all the Mormons are from Utah, but like even people who know that in general, like, were you from Utah? And I'm like, no, Florida's just really, really conservative and really, really weird and really, really strict. And to be honest, if you look at Mormon properties, Mormons own more than Disney does down here.
I was about to
They
say,
own more land down here. We
save it for
have
California.
the number 5. The last time I looked, the Mormon Church owned the 5th largest cattle ranch here in Florida. Like, it's a major thing down here.
Like I said, I was surprised to find out that every other person I grew up with was Mormon. Mormon people are everywhere in this country. I heard a long time ago it was the second fastest growing religion, but I
It's
think
not.
somebody.
That's a lie.
No, good, because I think somebody was just trying to scare me, and it worked.
It's a
I was
lie.
like,
It's
what?
actually bleeding out pretty badly, and I wish
Well,
that
now.
Mormon was still showing the numbers of people who resign. They stopped doing it because the workload got too hard for them to upkeep that. But I remember it used to be like an event for me because on average, people who go through Quit Mormon, you'd have maybe like 30, 50 resignations in a day. And then
Oh,
the
wow.
Mormons would do something like a big fuckery, and then you'd watch 100,000 people like be like, "Nope, I'm fucking out."
Oh,
And
wow.
you'd watch every time they screwed up, you'd watch the numbers rise because people would be like, "You know what? I haven't been to church. I don't consider myself Mormon. I might as well make it official now."
Oh, were they like creasters in the Catholic religion? We called people who only showed up during Christmas and Easter. We called them creasters.
Oh, jeez.
See,
We
I
call
don't.
them Jack Mormons, but there's a slight difference between a Jack Mormon and an active person, I think. Because Jack Mormons still go to church, but they're very liberal. And it's like, why are you still going? The inactive members are basically like, I still consider myself Mormon, but I don't go at all.
Like, see, here's what I don't get. Like the USCCB, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, is holding another conference a couple months from now, and their big thing is encouraging pro-choice Catholics to not take communion. And obviously, it's a shot across the bow against Joe Biden, President Joe Biden. You know, and it's like, you know what? Liberal Catholics, what the fuck are you doing still supporting this? What are you actually doing still supporting them? Why are you going to church? Why are you tithing? Why are you any of this
Yay!
heap of dog shit? Hey, Bert, why are you still supporting the Catholic Church, liberal Catholics? Why?
I always wonder about that.
I can kind of answer that as far as Mormons. I can't for Catholicism because I think Catholicism isn't as embedded the same way in certain geographical areas. But the thing with Mormonism is for some people it's family history. Like that's part of their family cultures that they're Mormon. For some people, leaving is impossible almost because of either social pressures or because of where they live or stuff like that. I'm fucking lucky that I live with my family that didn't have a big, well, they had a big deal about me leaving, but like it's a strain, but they're not shunning me. Some people lose their jobs. Some people have just bought into it so heavily and can't think of anything outside of that because that's all they know. So I mean, there's a number of different factors there. For me, I just basically said fuck off.
Yeah. Well, and for some people, if it's how they've lived their whole life, even if they don't feel right about it, that's still easier than making a change into something that they don't know what to expect.
See,
Absolutely.
so let me put it to you this way. I am the first, actually, I think, member of my family to leave the Catholic Church in at least 2 generations. Meaning somewhere in my great grandma and great grandpa on either side of my family, I'm the first person to leave the Catholic Church. And I mean in an official capacity. Those of you who, the very few of you who recall my first ever video, which is my formal defection from the Catholic Church video, I'm the first person to actually say fuck you and leave the Catholic Church.
Yeah. Well, and another thing is that some stuff will hit people differently. Like, my dad loves the concept of temple marriage. He loves the fact that he's been taught that he is going to have an afterlife and be a husband to my mom and to his new fiance. And like, it would be romantic and sweet and cool if it didn't have all of the culty stuff next to it.
Yeah.
Like, but to me, I got hit differently because, like, I don't feel romantic. I'm not sure how I feel about marriage personally. I very, very fucking seldom ever want to be in a partnership with anybody. It happens sometimes, but it's so damn rare. And because of the way that I'm wired, I don't think it's possible for me to be in a long-term relationship. So that same thing that's beautiful to him, to me, came down like a hammer and like did the smackdown. So that factors into it too. Some people think, oh, it's not that bad because it doesn't affect them as badly.
Nerdy Rodent comes with the Catholics are all unethical. The chat's lighting up. You know what's so funny? I catch myself sometimes being biased because I was raised Catholic, and I find myself saying, "Oh, the Catholic Church is this and this," and I'm like, "Wait a minute, I don't believe in any of it."
You see,
Yeah.
I will say all manner of nasty things about the Catholic Church, but I will, without hesitation, draw a strong demarcation line between Catholics and the Catholic Church.
Yes, I am in that boat too, because I see the Mormon organization as a whole as an abusive relationship with Mormons. And I make a distinct difference between leadership making the decision and like Mormons just doing their everyday thing, because I realize how complicated it is and that a lot of them just don't know any better. But that doesn't mean that I support the church. I'd rather it just like be I'd rather it just not exist at this point because it's just that bad.
First off, X, thank you. I'm bald as hell up to here, so it's just shiny. But I shave every other day, depending on what time of year. And it's hot. It's like 90 degrees every day now in LA, so it's shaved head time of year. So I shave like every other day.
Yeah.
But I'm old and balding.
I'm getting there. I got a receding hairline, hard man. But look, like I don't know, like the idea that the individual members of our religion are unethical is just, you know what? It's too much black and white thinking. It falls just too hard on the bite model for me.
Absolutely.
You know, like yeah, sure. Absolutely, the Catholic Church as an institution is fucked. It's unethical. It protects predators over victim. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And you have no further to look than the way that priests who rape little children are protected by the institution instead of the victims of these priests. You know, I mean,
Oh, don't even get me started. The cover up.
there's a reason that priests that are moved are looked on with suspicion, even by Catholics.
In I agree. Someone you know, because you get older and you hear the real versions of what happened. There was a priest that I grew up around. He got accused and they sent him overseas. And to me, that's guilt. To me, that's like instant guilt. Like he did it, you know.
Yeah, and that's the thing with me is as an institution, I know how things play out and things along that nature. I know some people who I look at and I'm like, you are so damn better than that church that you go to. Why the fuck are you still going? Like, I
I
know
think
why, but it's like you are like there are really like I have family members who are Mormon who I'm just like, no, I want nothing to do with you. And other family members who I'm just like, hi, you're just like 3 steps away. Come on. Come on. Come.
I feel
Come on. One or two more logical steps. Come on, honey. I know you can do it. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Yeah.
I actually
So
have
Nerdy Road, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Will, but
okay.
Nerdy Road has another thing. I see the distinction you're pointing to, and raise you KKK members are also unethical. I will absolutely grant that. You know what, man? Fucking, I have no idea if you're a man, Nerdy. Like it's, but like I don't actually have an answer. But like, as a Catholic, I wasn't necessarily racist. But suffice it to say, you and I would not get along as well, and it would absolutely be my fault as a Catholic at the time. Fucking.
My church was really weird because it was more socioeconomic, and I didn't realize what it meant until I went to junior high, and a friend of mine was like, "No, we sit over here." Like we quite literally separated ourselves from everybody else. And I'm still friends with someone that I went to CCD classes with, and quite a few people left my life when I put on Facebook that Jen from Jen's Little Corner and I were in a relationship. Quite a few people I've known disappeared. And somebody who's still what I consider a super Catholic still calls me and is like, hey, if you want to hang out anytime, you know. So there still are some good people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it kind of falls into the not distinction, the category of life is hard.
And I think that's another thing. It's also experience, because I'm trying to say this nicely because I've come to respect quite a few theists lately because I've met some actually really cool people. But to some people, I consider it a crutch. And you know what? If you need that crutch, I'm not going to sit here and try to ruin your life.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an anti-theist. Like I'm gonna say that, you know, flat out. I'm an anti-theist. I think religion overall is more harmful than it is good, but I'm not gonna try to deny the good. If you're one of those people, like I think it was like a year ago, Godless Cranium did a video of some fucktard that said, without Christianity, I'd be a gangbanger. I'd be running a cartel. That, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and GC's conclusion was, okay, you stay Christian. If that's the only thing keeping you from that, stay Christian.
Yeah, it scares me.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, as much as I hate the hold that church has on my dad and my sister, like fucking completely get it. My dad would be devastated. It might actually, at his age, break him mentally if he were to stop believing in the Mormon church.
I had
Because he like I said, he that whole being married to my wife thing, he adored my mom. He still does. Like, those two were inseparable, as dysfunctional as they were. And that's kind of why, even though I hate that he's still Mormon, it's also why I'm like, trying to deconvert him may not do him any favors. It may actually make things worse.
I mean, it's like the people that say without X religion, I would be out raping and murdering. You know what? The very few of them that actually mean it, stay Christian.
Those people are sociopathic and crazy without religion, without anything. If you took them and put them out in the woods, they would still be the same crazy person. There's no fixing people like that.
But you know, I think
but I mean, if that's the one safeguard that stops them, keep your religion.
I think the people that really believe that, though, would also be sociopathic enough that they would use their religion to justify killing someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't think it would really make any difference.
People, and with those people, my approach is going to be the same as the approach of my grandpa on my dad's side, who was naval seaman in World War II. You come across a Nazi, kill him.
Quite literally my motto, the patch, like I already said. That's on my Twitter. But
I'm surprised Twitter hasn't like taken down your account.
okay, so funny story. They could care less about that, but when I put a giant black penis on a Confederate flag, they completely censored it. And I had to change the shape of the head to make it look more cartoonish, so it can get posted. So Twitter, if it's a bot, whatever it is, their
bot is bad, because I know that one of my friends put punch Nazis in his bio, and he got booted from Twitter twice from just that.
You know what's really funny? I think it's because it's a picture, and no one ever really looks at it. I don't know. It's a really good point. Because if you look at my Twitter right now, it literally says, kill Nazis like your grandfather used to. And it's been up there for at least a year.
Yeah, but I know that that's the specific thing, because once he changed his bio, that's when he got booted. And then he was like, man, if I'm going to be booted for stating my stuff, I might as well make it worth it. And he started making a game out of it, where he would just be like, all right, I'm just going to say more and more ridiculous shit. And eventually got thrown off.
So would you think that people only feel it's safe to come out marching under the Nazi flag now because we've pretty much run out of World War II vets to go and kick their asses?
I think so. And people who I keep on bringing this up, but Tuesday kind of told me we need to keep teaching history because of people who forget history.
Well, the thing is there's also there's also we keep acting as if it's a distant past, like all of this stuff is past, and that points into the history as well. But it's also, I'm trying to the word to it.
I always say this. Oh, sorry, Tria.
No, go ahead. I'm still trying to formulate my thoughts.
I always throw this statistic out. My pops lived to be 80 years old. He died a year and a half ago. His grandmother lived to be, I think, like 97 or 98. She was a born slave. You know, that's with it. And she died in
Your grandmother?
My father's grandmother.
Okay. So your great grandmother.
Yeah. No. Yeah, because I have her marriage certificate, and she was married during the Reconstruction era, and she was only 17 years old. And so my whole point is that's within living memory. You want to know why? Because I'm still alive. Because she told her daughter, and she told my father. My father told me. You know, that's what living history is. You know.
I
Yeah.
think also, God damn it, my words are not coming out.
I know. How it is.
I'm bringing this back from something that I saw GC put up once, where we talked about the side of patriotism where people went and punched Nazis and killed Nazis. But I think we also forget as a country that we had Nazi movements actually happening before we went into war.
We had
World War II.
We actually had a Nazi party in America.
Yeah, and like I know, and I'm this is one of those things that I know from other people that I trust in the ex-Mormon community who have like studied history. The Mormon Church and several other churches that are still around actually aided and abetted the Nazi party.
The Catholic Church still has Nazi gold. Still has Nazi gold and stuff that was pilfered from rich Jewish people at the Vatican.
Yeah. It's and that's the thing is like
Hey,
I
dog.
think we gloss over that fact does not help at all.
Oh, the Catholic Church passed information to the Axis powers in exchange for them not bombing the Vatican.
Yeah.
The Mormons, hold on, before you make your point, Bub, the Mormons gave all of their quote unquote family history records to the Nazis in order for them to be able to continue to preach in Nazi Germany, and taught them how to do family history, which they then used against Jewish people.
Oh.
So, like, fucking
Mormons are the greatest record keepers in America. If you wonder why, go to 23andMe or any of those.
That's why I said earlier, if any of my family ever tries to do a DNA test, I will wreck it, because I do not want my DNA history ever being scooped up by the Mormons. The Mormons do not own 23andMe, but they have the money to buy that out whenever they damn well please. And I know that eventually they will.
And I have my neighbor across the street. She always takes pride in the fact that she has a book where her lineage goes back really far. Because they're all Mormons.
There's nothing wrong with knowing your lineage, but it's the way that it's used and what it's been used for. That's why I had almost a fist fight over having the family history box, because there was shit that's in the family history that I was never told, but yet I could probably name, my great so many great grandmothers by name, because the name is there, but they didn't tell me any of my fucking medical history or any of the stories related to them. No, it's for the baptisms for the dead. Like, fuck that shit.
Yeah. So, like, the thing I was gonna say before Tria needed to make her point was that like, recently I was like, I don't remember what movie it was my mom was watching, but I stopped by her house because I'm a good son and I say hello to my parents on occasion. Those of you who are watching who have neglected that and have decent relationships with your parents, call your parents. Those of you who have abusive relationships with your parents, fuck your parents. Not literally. But like, my mom's watching this World War II movie, and she, like, we're talking, and she's like, well, I mean, the Nazis also killed Catholics. And I'm like, what? Which Catholics, though? Let's look at this through a nuanced lens, because if you bother yourself to actually look at the nuanced history of the Nazi Party of Germany during World War II killing Catholics, you very quickly realize that it's Catholics who dissented from the ideals of Nazi Germany,
Yeah.
which the Catholic Church as a whole did not do.
Yeah, it was only the ones who split off and spoke against the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's something that's ignored in favor of being able to keep your faith. And that's why so many people in modern day look at the Catholic Church and say Nazi.
Yeah, but that's like I'm not gonna get too deep into it because I've already smoked 2 joints just sitting here. But like, oh, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Yeah, and like,
this is what I was gonna say. Sometimes I don't know why black people in America are Christians because that religion was used to suppress people of color. You know, at least black Americans.
I've noticed kind of a pattern in some of the circles that I've run in where so much was kept from them that they didn't realize all of the tiny little things. Because
Actually,
especially if you're born and raised in something, you sometimes don't realize how bad something is until you get out.
I had always questioned that too, about why so many blacks, especially Southern blacks, were so heavily Christian. And my fiance made an interesting point, you know, because I was asking specifically, why would they accept the religion of the people who had enslaved them?
100%.
And well, my fiance made the point that when you're beaten that far down, hope is the only thing you have left. So the hope of a better life after this.
And you know what? I agree with that 100%. And you know, I'm here because of those people. And so I will never harp on those people and their belief because that's what got them through.
Well, and
you know, but I don't believe in that at all in any way, shape, or form. And it makes me angry when I see people, like Purple said, especially because I come from people from Savannah, Georgia. It still trips me out that they are heavily religious. Religious.
Another factor to consider.
I don't get it.
And another factor to consider too is churches are a already founded way to create a sense of community. And there are churches that actually do treat things like a real fucking community. One of the arguments I get in with anti-theists who are not from the South is I fully believe that some of these churches should be left the hell alone for no other reason than there are some that preach so that you can come to church and be converted and use that as a weapon. And then there are some that are like, fuck, we're all doing hard. You know what? Let's feed and clothe the community.
I have ran across organizations like that, and I always will work and love the help and appreciate people like that, because there are Christian organizations who shut their mouth and they will stand next to an atheist like me and go help people out on the streets.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that it's very, very fucking nuanced. There's so many layers. For instance, the big ginormous Baptist church here will make it a point to advertise when they're helping you that, you know, like, this is our church, this is, you know, come to our services, blah, 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 blah. And then you go a few blocks down the other direction, and there's a church where the roof is practically falling in. The minister lives at the church with a busted up old rusty car, And you know where the money is going because there is a cookout 3 days out of the week, and it doesn't matter who the hell you are, you can walk up to them and be like, I'm hungry, can I please have food? And nothing is talked about. They might talk about church activities, like, if the kids are playing and stuff like that, but they don't go preachy. It's basically like everyday conversation, and they don't care.
I lived in MacArthur Park area of Los Angeles when I was in my early 20s, and the entire neighborhood would come together from Friday until church started, basically on Sunday, and they would start cooking. And they would feed people all weekend long. And after a while, like I caught on. They didn't even care if you were from the neighborhood or not. They let me wander in there. They did not care, but they helped me through hard times. And I know they were hardcore Catholics. They didn't care that I was there.
Yeah.
They were the nicest people.
And that's the problem is you have people who weaponize it, but you also have people who genuinely are like, no, we're going to help people. I've pretty much like I said, that building is falling apart. Probably could spend a little bit more money like fixing the building and like giving the pastor a place to stay. But instead it's basically, no, we're going to feed the community because I don't live that far from the nearest food desert. We have several in Jacksonville where you literally cannot get food unless you take a 30-minute bus trip.
That's crazy to me.
If you don't have a car, if you do not have a car, you cannot get food. And so a lot of his money gets spent into going to the grocery store, loading up that beat up old car of his, bringing it back and feeding the entire neighborhood.
Here we redistribute, but with that being said, they just started putting grocery stores in certain neighborhoods in LA. They just started doing that. So I think that it's I don't know if you'd call that a food desert, but like people didn't have employment or a way to feed themselves in their own neighborhood. They had to go to different neighborhoods.
Yeah. And we have several of those where I live. And it's difficult because in a lot of those neighborhoods, people think, well, just, create bus stops or create routes. And I'm like, I don't think you understand how difficult it is in an already developed area that already has housing. In order for you to put food places to eat in those areas, you would have to knock down people's houses. And where are they going to go from there?
So to answer what Nerdy's saying, it depends on where you live. In America, some places have great transportation, and other places like here, you do need a car just to go to the grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
It's weird to me when someone says that they don't need a car to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, I'm in Jacksonville, and it's heavily spread out, and it's impossible to not have a car. The only saving grace that I have is Medicaid finally decided that my sister was like, oh, wow, she really can't take a bus. And I was like, yes, that's what we've been telling you this entire fucking time. Thanks for finally noticing.
And in America, even the major cities, the ones that actually have good public transportation, are a pretty small minority.
And
an asterisk is next to the word
good. Where I live, it can take up to 3 hours to get somewhere by bus.
So I hate to say this because I'm a degenerate gambler, but in Atlantic City, they have a great bus system. And also in Reno, Nevada and Las Vegas, Nevada. But there's a reason why. And in LA, there's a bus literally every 15 minutes.
Yeah. So where I live, the county I'm in, there's an aging program that has a sort of transit system. You have to set up a pickup appointment time to get it, but it exists. And if you were to go to Columbus, Ohio, the nearest large city to where I live, there's the C bus system, which I don't remember what exactly that's for. And you've got the actual mass transit system, and sometimes there's a bus every 15 minutes, but it's not the most reliable thing on earth. You can't set your watch to it. So like the idea that we build our cities around thoroughfares for individually owned vehicles is just, it screws so many people.
It really does. It really does.
Like right after, like for months after I had my traumatic brain injury because of a car accident, I relied on my mother and sister to take me places because my car was destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
I had a traumatic brain injury. How well trusted to drive could I possibly be with, brain damage, literal brain damage? So if my mother or sister wasn't available, I had to rely on a taxi service, which, surprise, is not all that reliable.
Oh, no. I was in
No.
a car accident 2 years ago, and I was on a walker, and I went from a walker to a cane. I basically had to learn how to walk again. So car accidents are no joke. They are.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, for a while I had to rely on, unfortunately, the Mormon Church to help me get to a lot of my sister's appointments before they finally decided, hey, just because she can walk doesn't mean she can ride a bus. Which,
yeah, like as fucked as so many things are, like I had to ride a bike to, like, no one was available to take me to physical therapy after my traumatic brain injury after the accident because I had whiplash too. My neck was in such bad shape that I had to I had to let my hair grow out so I could grab it so I could hold my neck up straight when I took a shower.
Oh.
And I had to ride a bike for 3 miles to get to physical therapy twice a week.
My sister.
How could you ride a bike if you couldn't keep your head up?
Yeah,
I didn't have any other choice. I had to figure out a way, and I did.
That sounds horribly painful.
You know what?
It was.
You know what's really funny? So when I got in my car accident, I felt fine for the first. Well, because of adrenaline, I was walking around. I went to the doctor. I woke up the next morning. I could not move my body at all, and it was the strangest feeling, and I completely forgot why I said that because I'm reading the chat and talking at the same time. Damn it.
Yeah, that'll screw you.
Yeah,
so Christy's got a thing. Do you guys ever ponder a time when the Catholic Church literally ruled all the nation that it got its hands on?
I used to always have this conversation with someone that I respected. They would always say, oh, we talk trash about the Taliban, but the Catholic Church was the Taliban. It always depends on what side you were on. Could you imagine? First off, life sucked 500 years ago, 600 years ago, in general. Even if you were at the top, life sucked. People lived infant mortality was every other kid. People didn't live long. Could you imagine being put on the rack? Or
I actually right now, considering my back pain, I would kill to be put on a rack.
Or like being burnt on a stake. The one thing about being burnt is that you die from asphyxiation before you even feel the pain of the searing pain of being burnt.
Bob, serious suggestion. When my sister screwed up her back, she actually found that an inversion rack helped her.
Yeah,
of
I'm
hanging
looking
upside
into
down for
buying one
about
of
10
those.
minutes twice a day.
I'm looking into buying one of those. I also just picked up a TENS unit
Mhm.
from the VA, which I love it, but it doesn't provide nearly enough relief.
Yeah,
It's
because
great
she got her back and neck really
for like an
screwed up
hour,
from a bad car accident.
but like fucking oh my god, no pain is a remarkable bitch. I hate it so much.
Well, even about what would have been about 130 years ago, about 130 years ago, my views on the Mormon Church would actually get me exiled and thrown into the desert. So there's that.
Oh, they would have tied me to a goat and hit it in the butt and kicked me out of the village for my views. Or burnt me at the stake.
No, I would have just been left in the desert basically because it's like that's not because it's the we're not killing you, but we're killing you.
Oh, I expect they would have taken my Tourette's to me being demon possessed as a child, so that would have been the end of it.
Same with my asthma. I wouldn't have made it past like 6 or 7 years old. I was at the worst when I was a little kid. Before I learned how to deal with anxiety and not breathing.
Yeah, because I remember a lot of stuff when I was 8 or 9 about like making weird noises and things, and my sisters would ride me for it and wouldn't believe that I couldn't help it.
Yeah, exactly.
And we didn't find out until I was 30 that I had Tourette's.
Isn't that funny? Ugh. That's crazy, Purple.
Yeah, in the 70s, nobody knew what it was.
And that's how I feel when people are always like, oh, why are we getting all these autism diagnoses and everything? We never addressed the issue, and now we are. And now we know,
Yeah, it's
what's
because like people don't realize this, but we have advanced extremely fast in the past 30 years with diagnoses, with treatment, like what it was like for us in our 30s, 40s, and 50s as children is
Yeah.
dramatically different now.
Well, my father,
than
to
what it
his
was
dying
back
day,
then.
was terrified of doctors.
Hmm.
But put that in perspective, his idea of doctors were World War II field mechs.
Those things stick with you. I always say, my grandfather, after World War II, he took my grandmother around the world on cruises because after World War II, he refused to ever step foot on a plane again because he was there at D-Day.
When I was living in St. Paul, there was a homeless guy who I used to talk to waiting for buses. And found out he was homeless because something happened to him in Vietnam that he wouldn't talk about, that he actually was afraid to sleep indoors.
Yeah, that I can totally see that. I spent my entire 20s being feral, and still to this day, sometimes I wake up, go in my living room, open up all the windows, and fall asleep on the couch because it's basically like being outside. It took me a while to get used to sleeping indoors. I have crappy sleeping habits to this very day because of it. You get used to a certain way of life.
Yeah, I watch my dad. My dad is most likely dyslexic. Just and he admits it sometimes, but it's always like grudgingly. It's like it's a yeah, I am, but I don't want to talk about it because we don't talk about these kinds of things type deal. But back when he was growing up, it
Excuse
was
me.
you don't have a learning disorder, you're lazy. Or you don't have a you're not neurodivergent, you're lazy or stupid.
A while ago I saw this thing on Facebook, and it said, oh, if this helps you with dysgraphia and blah blah blah. And like I called my mom and I was like, I had dysgraphia, and she looked at me and she was like, back in your day they just corrected it. basically they forced me to be right-handed instead of left-handed. I was left-handed, and they said that I had dysgraphia, and they just basically forced me to use my right hand.
Yeah, they stopped doing that about the time my sister hit school. Because she's left-handed, and they never. Of course, I don't know whether or not they were still doing that when she was in school, or my mom was just as much of a hellion that they didn't want to push it with her. Because my mom was that bitch that would show up at the school and be like, "Hi, you're gonna do things the way you're supposed to." I'm in the building, and if I find out that anything's going off that shouldn't be going off, I ain't that far away. Because she got tired of telling people, it's like, you're not paying attention to the plan that we set up for her. You're not following the rules. So I might as well just show up and remind you that I have all day.
See, I'm actually starting to debate how old I am, because the last thing I remember left-handedness being called is sinistrality.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I didn't know any terms for it. I just knew that my mom was like, that's not something you're going to change for my kid. And I don't know whether or not, like, because I know the shift happened at some point while I was in school, but I don't know when that shift to where they were starting to provide like left-handed stuff and not correct it actually happened. I just know that my mom was basically telling them there's shit you're going to do and shit you're not. If you try to pull any of the stuff on my things you're not going to do list, you're going to have to deal with me. And my mom was one of those people who did not get tired of fighting. It actually energized her. So everything in this is so basically heaven help you, hell help you if she decided to get into a fight. Because she would win by simply wearing you down. She'd just wait. She'd be like, come on, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Well, it makes me feel better to know there was massive amounts of people that were forced to be right-handed as well. Because every time I bring it up, people are like, oh, yeah, me too.
I suspect that may be my problem too. That I don't think it was done as such an intentional thing, but I think it may have just been that, like, I had so many other odd things going on that it didn't occur to them I was supposed to be left-handed. Because I'm pretty ambidextrous in most things, and my handwriting's illegible no matter which hand I use.
Oh, jeez.
Well, can I ask everyone here a question? Do you guys write in cursive?
Yeah.
I do, but terribly. But then
Well,
again, I write in manuscript or whatever it's called, the non-cursive form, just as terribly. So yeah.
I do both.
Yeah, I write in cursive, but my
cursive.
Yeah, my handwriting has not improved since about the 5th grade.
Oh my gosh, same here. And my sister has beautiful handwriting, and I'm like, I hate you. It's so pretty.
We had this one traumatic year. I can't believe I still remember this. When they were just like, this is the year you learn to write cursive. And I've been writing cursive since. And that was probably 6 years ago, if not longer. It was a long time ago,
I struggle with writing cursive, to be honest. And I think it's because of the way I hold my pens, and also because of the I'm what they call heavy-handed. I used to grip my pencils so hard that the inside of my thumbs, part of the skin would come off.
I was told to write in print at my job because the under 30s, excuse me, the under 30s can't read my writing. I was kind of offended, but I understood.
I understand why people are like, I don't have to do cursive, but at the same time, I'm aggravated with it because I don't think we have to maintain that everybody needs to write cursive, but I think everybody needs a basic enough understanding of it because it was used so often in historical documents. And if you don't understand that, that's kind of going back to talking about history and how we're not teaching it properly and the effects
Yeah.
we're dealing with.
Somebody posted on Twitter that, in another decade, it's going to be a secret code that nobody under 40 will be able to read cursive.
For real. For real. That's why when I was first told, I was kind of like, ha ha ha, you're joking, right? And they were like, no.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that my nephew graduated high school and couldn't write his name in cursive.
Well,
It's like, how are you going to sign any document?
Exactly.
Just do it. Do what a buddy of mine did when he and I were both in high school. Just on the fucking credit card reader, just draw a penis. Literally what he did. He got elaborate with it too. After he practiced for a little while, like he drew the veins and the hairs on the balls.
Unfortunately, that's part of it. Is those credit card things where you're supposed to sign your name. Even the people who have good handwriting can't make a legible signature on those things.
Yeah, well, and also, well, except for my dad, but it's basically because he writes his first initial like 20 times bigger and then scribbles and then writes the second initial and then just the same size and then scribbles. Like you just see his initials with like little scribbles next to it. And he is the only person I know that can perfectly replicate his signature on those readers that you do on the like on a screen. It looks exactly the same.
Just reminded me of something. So my mom, because she's a boomer, when my dad passed, she hadn't paid a bill since probably the like early 70s.
Oh no.
She didn't know how to pump her gas or anything. And I showed her. And you know what? She's really, she feels independent. She's really taken to all of it. I taught her how to pay for stuff online. Like she's really got her stuff together. Things that took me years, she's really like got to it. And damn it, I forgot what I was gonna say. Damn it. Again. It's because I'm on the 4th J.
That'll do it.
My mom technically was part of that generation where you didn't really learn stuff, except she was a military wife and my dad was hardly ever home. And what's hilarious is when, and kind of sad really, was when my mom died, I had watched how mom handled things. I had basically, she never sat down and taught me this is what you do. I just basically picked up some tips and tricks here and there. When my mom died, my dad was like, I don't know how to do any of this shit. And I was like, really? I have to teach you? Really now?
That's what I was going to say is that I use, I signed for her so much that if she signed for herself, I think people would think it was a fake signature if they saw her signature.
Yeah, like, and not everything. I didn't, like, he knew how to pump gas, obviously, because, but he would be like, I don't know how your mom had the bill set up. I don't know how, like, she dealt with stuff with her little sister. Like, he knows her medical history backwards and forwards, but he was just basically like, I don't know how any of these decisions were made. All of that stuff wound up. I was just like, I have to teach you at 50 years old how to do bills? Like, okay. All right.
It's like you said though, Tree, it's a different generation,
Yeah.
So I hate to murder the stream to death, but I have to go pick up Unicorn Cat, and it's very nearly 2:30 in the morning where I'm at, so it's getting kind of close to bedtime. So why don't my illustrious guests go ahead and do a little self-promotion? Whoever wants to start.
Tria, you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Triatio. I have a YouTube channel that sits there. Someday I might go back to it. But Mostly right now, I am DMing games. If I have any games, those will go on my Twitter. If you follow my Twitter, you can watch me yell at Mormon, make really, really crappy niche Mormon jokes, talk about being arrowy, and post pictures of my overlord cat Elmer. So that's basically it for me. I don't have any projects going on right now.
Who's next?
I'll go.
Do it.
Hi, I'm Godless Sewing from the Godless Sewing channel. Every Thursday, Jen from Jen's Little Corner, Kitty the Atheist, and myself, we have the What the Fuck show where we discuss life and talk about things. Every Wednesday, Sam Chaos, Maddie from Science Side Up, and myself, we have a podcast called Pub Religion where an atheist, a pagan, and a Christian walk into a bar and hug it out. And I heard I was going to do a sewing circle tomorrow, but then I saw a thumbnail for somebody's having their 3rd anniversary tomorrow. So my next question is, Purple, can I wear a suit?
If you must, although I have a certain revulsion to them.
I don't think I own one that fits anymore because I've gained 40 pounds over the past year. So I probably don't even have one that fits.
All right, Purple, you're the one that's left.
Normally, I just do friendly chats on Wednesdays at noon and Thursdays at midnight Central Time. This week, due to schedule conflict, I'm not going to be able to do my normal Wednesday chat. But tomorrow night, excuse me, in about 22 hours, actually, I'm going to do a special midnight chat because it's going to be the 3rd anniversary of my channel. And other than that, I'm usually on Thursdays with Godless Sewing and Friday evenings with the Shills.
And I live close enough to the highway, apparently, that I can hear a couple of young fucktards doing what they think is racing. But I am Beelzebub. You are on my channel, so obviously you know who I am to some degree or another. Subscribe to my panelists here, particularly Tria TL, who put in a lot of effort with quite uncomfortable topic to her earlier. I really do appreciate you coming on and talking, Tria.
No problem. It's something that I appreciate the ability to like speak up and talk about those kinds of things because it is rough. It's not easy to do.
I wish I could have been here when you were doing that live, but I was already in another show at the time.
That's all right, Purple. I'm
definitely going to watch it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, make sure you're in a good space to watch it, y'all. Cause yeah, I dropped
a little rough.
things. Yeah.
I expected it would get intense for you.
Yeah, but I'm all right. So, and like I said, it's better for me to do it because I know I can than somebody who isn't able to.
Yeah. So definitely subscribe to Godless Sewing also, who has his own channel, Purple Rhymes with Orange. And me, I guess. I mean, I don't mean to whore myself out, but I also make content from time to time. But I do have to get going. I gotta pick up someone from work and also eat at some point would be fantastic. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. Take it easy, everyone, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Okay, good night, all.
Later on.
Night.